Hello YouTube, it's me Jobda, back at it on another video. It's somehow only been a year since the Five Nights at Freddy's movie by Blumhouse Studios took the world by storm. The story of the Fnaf movie is weirdly fascinating, or at least mildly fascinating. For those that haven't actually watched it, the movie is about a unemployed person having a temporary security job at a rundown Chuck E. Cheese knockoff, and also his many dreams about children. The thing about this movie, it was announced like 2014, 2015. It was in development hell for almost 10 years. Originally the rights belonged to Warner Brothers, and they leaned hard into it. They were convinced to be the next big thing, but after too much development, they more or less scrapped the idea and sold the movie to Blumhouse. But around this time, they wanted to just make something small, something short. So they hired a then unknown indie game developer, Scott Corson, to make their licensed game. They were putting over time into trying to develop this movie, and they thought, screw it, just have a short game. They picked Scott because his style was almost exactly what they had in mind for the animatronics in the movie. And also with how Scott is a very quick turnaround on their projects, they were like, easy, this guy can do it in like 5 minutes. But Jobda, I hear no one ask because no one watches my videos. What about all the other games? The first Five Nights at Freddy's game, which was released when the movie was supposed to, got a lot of sequels. It got the attention that you don't get from a licensed game unless your name is SpongeBob. So, what's all that about? Well, once the first game was done, and it blew up, they were like, you know what? Let's keep funding this. Just make some more games, make more story, and while you're doing that, we'll figure out what the hell we want from the movie. Because, again, development hell. When they sold to Blumhouse just pretty much immediately hired him again. He didn't have any allegiance to Warner Brothers. No one has allegiance to Warner Brothers nowadays, especially people that worked at Warner Brothers. This also ties into how disconnected the games relatively are. The movie is more or less one cohesive story, but the games got so complicated because there were quite literally like 15 stories being worked on that Scott just didn't know what to add for which game. He did keep the stuff that was most relevant in the first one, so just the stuff that we would later see in the movie. Vanessa wasn't even a thing until like much later scripts, which is why the game series didn't have them until the last 2 or 3 games. So FNAF game series became a convoluted but very successful mess, while the movies were just a mess to begin with, until they settled on one that was more or less just the first game. So, with all that background, how is the first game in terms of how it relates to the movie? That's what I want to look at today, seeing how it ties in with the FNAF movie. So, the title screen is fairly standard. You got your main man, Freddy Fazbear. It's very reminiscent of the Welcome to the Job type video that you see in the movie. There isn't many options at the start, so we're just going to the game. And immediately, you're in the office. No backstory, no Abby, and you are just in the office. There are some changes, but in this, they scrapped that for gameplay purposes. And there also isn't the Nebraska poster. I do really appreciate having the kids' drawings, because that is a major part of the movie. Then we get Steve Raglan, who we know from later on is actually William Afton. Give us a tutorial, like the movie in a way. I do find it odd to include that, but it is like a good way to get the tutorial across, I suppose. Going back to the office design, we have 2 hallways, a light and a lock button, along with a giant button at the bottom to bring up the cameras. These changes were made for gameplay. Unlike the movies, all the animatronics are coming directly for you. All of them except for the yellow bear. If the animatronics get to you, I'd presume they'd put you into the torture head used in the movie. There are no points of levity. There's no Abby to help the animatronics be friends and make blanket forts or whatever. And there also is no dream sequences, which is like half of the movie. But yeah, you just survive from 12 to 6, because that's your shift. One like really good detail though, is that the way Foxy works, they will just sprint to your office, which is exactly how he did in the movie. It is missing the more interesting elements because, you know, spoilers. They don't even have the big reveal of the Yellow Rabbit. I think originally they were just going to have the animatronics be the villains, and there wasn't going to be like secret bad guy. It does nail atmosphere though. I know atmosphere is like YouTube horror buzzword, but like, it's good stuff. You do get clues that relate to the story's plot. Even from the start, they did have the whole the children were killed and put into the suits thing. I'm just gonna skip to the ending. Spoiler, I guess. Or not really spoiler, because all you get is a paycheck and that's it. Which, to be fair, you want the paycheck to keep Abby. The game reduced the movie to its base elements. Having everything from the movie would just be very crowded. So keeping it to just simple, that was very smart. This has been Jopta. Catches.